All right, so for today's agenda, we will be having a fireside chat with Dr. Tiffanie Turner-Henderson from Johnson C. Smith University. After that, we will have a Q&A session in which we'll answer your questions. And again, please put those questions in the chat box. Following that, we will have a networking session in which all of you will be in breakout rooms. You'll get to connect with your peers, discuss best practices, recommendations, talk about your institutions. And then with about 2 minutes at the end, we'll wrap up and I'll provide some closing items. For those of you whom I haven't met, my name is Meghana, pronouns she and her, and I'm an education relationship manager. And I work with the majority of you, so it's nice to see your lovely faces here. And then joining me today is Dr. Tiffanie Turner-Henderson. She's been a wonderful partner. I've worked with her for several months on the Handshake side of things, and then also just indulged in a lot of great conversations. So nice to have you here, Dr. Henderson. And yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, good afternoon or good morning to all. And again, bring you greetings from Johnson C. Smith University in the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I look forward to sharing whatever information I can give to you that may be beneficial to you or to your staff or others that you may know.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Henderson. And then I wanted to give a special shout out to Mrs. Tamara Foster Montgomery, who is the Director of Career Services at Southern University at Baton Rouge. She has been instrumental in helping me put together basically a blog post to talk about how Handshake has become mandatory at SUBR for freshmen. So that's something that we will be sharing out with a great four-year plan, some tidbits in there. So thank you again, Mrs. Montgomery. So sort of want to set the stage here as to why we're doing this, why we're having this symposium, what we're looking to accomplish. So over the last couple of years, a majority of HBCUs have been partnering with Handshake. We currently have 50% of all HBCUs already using Handshake, and we plan to add more and partner with more HBCUs over the next several months. 71% of HBCU students today are on Handshake as well. So there's a lot of knowledge here, a great wealth of knowledge that we all can share. So it's important that we have such networking sessions for you all to collaborate and share best practices that you've come across while utilizing Handshake and working with your students. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the fireside chat with Dr. Henderson. I'm just going to escape out of this here, and then we shall go ahead and get started. All right, Dr. Henderson. So you and I, we've had a lot of amazing conversations about student engagement, about things that you were doing as the interim director. And you also mentioned a lot about, how you were developing those relationships, how you were engaging with student organizations at JCSU. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you started your engagement, the student groups that you work with, and then what types of conversations you had to have to get things rolling?
Sure. So I'll back up a couple of steps. So my time in our Center for Career and Postgraduate Readiness, we have a new title to our Career Center, started late December. So before then, I actually served as the Assistant Professor of Management and Marketing in our Department of Business Administration Economics. And so at the heart of me is the educator, the faculty member, someone coming from corporate, so 20 plus years in corporate and sales and marketing. So my mind always operates as a business. How do we function? What pieces do we need to have in place to be successful and create a desired product, which in the case of higher education is our students. So moving into the interim position, I understood what catches the eye of the students, the eye and the ears of the students. And as much as we as adults believe that we have a little authority, it tends to be the peers that will convince the students to go along with a new initiative because they see the influencers on the campus doing it or speaking on it. So one of the things coming into the interim assistant director of our Career Readiness Center was to engage with the students, understanding our population, the use of the Career Center, the use of Handshake. How can I utilize some of our student leaders, whether they were in formal positions within university or informal positions within university, to show them here are some resources to take advantage of, especially during our virtual year and a half during the pandemic, or still in the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for sharing and giving us that background, Dr. Henderson. And I guess sort of diving into the different student organizations, leadership groups that you work with, can you name a few? And I also remember when we were chatting that you were talking about ambassador groups, so individual students. So could you give us a little bit more information around that?
Sure. In normal situations when you're on campus, you have your SGA, you have your Divine Nine, you have those student honor societies and student organizations on campus that are very active with activities throughout the year, and they draw a lot of attention from the students. So even during our virtual session during this spring semester, it was pulling upon those organizations. They were having spring workshops on updating your resume, on finding that internship, on practicing their interview skills, things of that nature. And so tapping into that to be a voice, to provide resources, to empower those students in those workshops, to lead those workshops. So kind of lead from behind, give them material, train them, and then allow them to take over the workshop and be there. Hold on just a moment. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm mommy first. So no apologies. No, not right now. I'm sorry. Mommy first always. So with that, it was tapping into those student resources to empower them to be the leaders and to be the experts. Also tapping into our honor societies within each of our divisions to, as they had initiatives that they had to make reports on to their national offices. Let's bring in some of these resources. Let's talk about what is in your handshake? What does your handshake say about you? And so for our students, just to be very candid, they may have started with Handshake during their freshman year, during those introductory courses, and it may sit for a little while. So let's go revisit that. What did you have in your resume freshman year and sophomore year? And now as a junior and senior, you're looking for internships and paid opportunities. What's in your handshake? And so those became hot topics because everyone was clamoring to say, I need experience, I need a job for my seniors. So going into those honor societies within each division, because they could also identify particular industries and specific companies that they should target and look for within the platform that would have those openings for them. So again, using Divine Nine, using the SGA, and then again, using those student organizations within divisions really gave us the opportunity to touch a lot of the students in a virtual setting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dr. Henderson. And I guess when you were having those conversations, trying to, make those initial engagements, and with being a one-person office at the time and doing everything that you were doing, meeting with students, teaching classes, doing everything career services related, were there any sort of obstacles or deterrents in your way? And sort of how did you overcome that?
First of all, kind of being that one person to cover it all, from internal operations and relationships to building internal relationships, managing platforms. So that in itself was a balancing act. But what I also did was I reached out for help. It's always okay to reach out for that support, and understanding that I was kind of that one person. So I tapped into the deans. So I tapped into the deans of each one of the divisions and into the chairs and said, okay, here's some resources, but I need to get those out. What's the best way? Can I share that with you? Can I get some time on the schedule to share this information with the faculty? Can I come into some of the classrooms? So again, creating those collaborations and that support system from my colleagues, both as staff and faculty, that allowed me to kind of balance everything through the course of the semester. So that was very beneficial and very appreciative of them coming in to support the efforts.
Yeah, and I agree. I think sort of utilizing all of the resources around you, making those connections internally, talking to the deans, talking to faculty members, that definitely helps. At least what I've seen on my end, working with all of the different partners that I work with, when they have faculty engagement, when they have faculty to talk about career, to talk about Handshake in their classrooms, it always helps with increasing those metrics within Handshake, and in general, increasing their conversations with career services. So thank you for sharing that, Dr. Henderson. And you had mentioned this earlier on about sort of programming, sort of, making it unique. So wanted to talk a little bit more about any sort of like programming or incentives that you offered to these groups. Were there any things of that sort?
Yes, there's always the buy-in of what are those back-end benefits to me as a student. So again, for the student organizations, they could do a summary saying that they had partnered with the Career Readiness Center to provide workshops that benefit the students. So they could do that in their write-up for their evaluation. So that was beneficial to the student organizations. For the students themselves, again, having that collaboration with the deans and with the faculty members, attending those sessions or updating their resume or applying, because I could pull the reporting from the back end of Handshake, if they applied for positions, and I could send the report out to the divisions. So there may be extra credit, a couple of points here and there that would help them, especially during, again, I go back to the virtual environment because that was our space this year. Those couple of points could help them at the very end. So it benefited them updating and attending updating their profiles and attending the workshops, but at the same time, it gave them a little extra credit within their courses as well. So that was a great incentive for them as well.
Yeah, I love the idea of extra credit. And I know in several other conversations, we've talked about like swag, we've talked about like actual like physical things that you then give to students. So I think all of these are great ways to sort of get students to engage. And then on the topic of engagement with student groups, with organizations, for the participants here today, what are some best practices? If you had to list out 3 top things, best practices, what would you recommend that they do to get those conversations kickstarted?
And you know what, I will definitely open it up for those who have been in their roles in career centers much longer than I have. But I would say some of the things that I found as best practice, again, having, I heard a better phrase is not buy in, but all in to the initiative, that this is something that we agreed to as a university, as staff and faculty, as in students, that we are going to empower, we are going to equip, we are going to bring these resources, and that we will actively participate and encourage students to attend workshops, that we will take the time within our courses to, if I attended a workshop on resume building or even job search or career trajectory, that I will build a small portion of that into my course. So it's not just attend a workshop and that's the last. There's actually going to be something embedded within courses. So that buy-in there, or the all-in from everyone, that is so beneficial in moving forward. And just to share, and I believe that, yep, my colleague is here, our new director of our Center for Career and Postgraduate Readiness, Jennifer Joyner, has joined us on this call. And we have a brand new initiative that's kicking off in the fall. We're beginning with, and I believe I see some individuals from the UNCF grant team here. So they've paved the way, and I've taken a lot of tips from them too. So please speak up. I see a couple of people, including Harold Bell. I remember him speaking on this as well. Incentives beginning in the freshman year, that they are receiving badges, credentials for attending workshops, that they are actively in Handshake, that is something they must complete as part of their curriculum before they go to the next level. And this begins freshman year to their senior year. And during that process, they will be mandated to complete at least one experiential learning opportunity, whether that's an internship, that's work study, field study, research with one of the faculty members, something that's giving them insight into their career path. They may find that they are in a STEM discipline, but the cost of their attendance to virtual sessions with Handshake or the career fair, or again through field research with a faculty member, I'm in STEM, but I'm actually finding that my true skill set may be in business, or vice versa. So again, making this program across the board mandatory, but also having it in small chunks along the way, so that by the time that they are graduating from Johnson C. Smith University, they know where they're going, they are empowered. They know how to network, when to network, how to expand, and also how to reach back and help those who come behind them.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Henderson. And I think with the badge program, we had talked about that, and we had also, like, with Mrs. Montgomery from SUBR, we talked about, having a program in which freshmen were tasked to do certain things within their profile, whether it was completing their profile, whether it was uploading their resume. So I think just having different aspects, different tasks, and tying them back into Handshake, back into career services will definitely help. And we have about 7 minutes left here, 6 minutes now left here before we dive into Q&A, but wanted to sort of touch on the other topic that you and I were chatting about, which was re-envisioning goals, reprioritizing, especially after the year that we've had, thinking about goals, thinking about career services, thinking about fall planning, spring planning. And I know Ms. Joyner and I were also going to have those conversations moving forward. So would love for you to sort of touch on that, talk to us about, what your plans were, and share your ideas and how you prioritize them.
Yeah. So again, kind of going back to our programming that's rolling out this fall, we actually have several grants lined up to help support the effort. One being the build out of our Career Readiness Center so that we are no longer an army of one. So that's beneficial. With that also brings on the opportunity to bring in student ambassadors. And I know that, again, some of my fellow UNCF universities can vouch for that, having those students that part of their work study may be in the Career Center and they are on this trajectory that they want to go into counseling or higher education or what have you. But for them to be those peer advisors or peer ambassadors, so they serve in an official capacity within our center, and they are there to, again, if students come in and they may be hesitant to ask the adults in the room, that they know they can ask a peer, okay, how do I log in, or I don't know if my resume is correct, or I'm looking for a job that may be in this area, and to be able to go into Handshake and show them how they can update their resume, how they can go into a search, how they can connect with other students at other universities. I think that's an amazing function, especially with our population now, is about those social media connections. So you can look at some of that feature as, hey, I can connect with other students that I was in an internship at, XYZ last summer. They're in Handshake. What are they doing now? Can I connect with them? They may have received an offer and now I'm a senior and I'm looking for a job. Oh, they're in here and they're actually the recruiter. Oh, well, can I reach out to them? So again, it offers the students an opportunity to expand their own networks using the platform as well. So that's part of it, bringing in those peer ambassadors or peer counselors that can show them how to use the system. Again, going back to embedding parts of that professional development and developing their transferable skills within our discipline. So across the board, so it's not just coming from career readiness. This is something they're seeing in each and every class. So that repetitiveness makes it not a have to do, but that is just what we do mentality. So that's what we're looking forward to going into the fall season.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Henderson. There's a lot there that I feel we can all learn from, and a lot of us can adapt that for our planning as well. And one more thing that I'll add in is you're a Handshake relationship manager. We're more than happy to hop on calls with you, talk about this. We want to engage in these conversations about, your strategic planning, what you're looking to do, and then we can also talk about what other institutions are doing and provide best practices. So feel free to contact us, schedule time with us, and we're more than happy to assist. And with that being said, wanted to wrap up here, Dr. Henderson. Thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate all the wisdom, all the knowledge that you've shared. I'm sure I'm sure a lot of partners have picked up from a lot of things that you mentioned. So thank you again. We're going to have about 10 minutes for our Q&A session. So if there are any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask them. And then Dr. Henderson and we can answer them.
Hello, my name is Patricia Butler. I'm the administrative assistant in the Career Services Center at Harrisville State University. At this particular time, I do not have any questions right now, but I just want to say job well done. I think you hit on a lot of valuable things, Dr. Turner. I mean, Dr. what's your name, Johnson? And yes, there's a Dr. Turner here. You resembles her a lot.
It's Tiffanie Turner-Henderson. Yeah,
You probably,
I just
you
changed
probably
it.
hear that a lot. But yes, and we are enforcing a lot of that. What you spoke about as far as connecting with those deans, the faculty, and all of that. And yes, and even trying to look at perhaps trying to get that as far as course related. And yes, you've done a wonderful job, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, and it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Any other questions from the group?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Henderson, and for conducting this session, Magna. I am Sandra Shandstone, Dr. Shandstone, career counselor from the University of District of Columbia's Office of Career Services. And I'm very much interested in knowing what partnerships you've developed or you're planning to envision that would involve MOU partners, partnering with employers and faculty and the career centers over a long period of time to ensure that a pipeline is developed for people in various areas. Is that under consideration, and have you developed such an MOU partnership? And then what template or formula has been put in place?
So great question, and I thank you for asking. And we have. And that is something that has been in place going into, I think, the third year for one of our programs and going into the second year for another program. And then we have others, of course, that are in the pipeline. So our first relationship was with a company that's located in South Carolina. Where we're located in Charlotte, it's kind of a hop, skip, and a jump, and you're in South Carolina. So there's a company called Red Ventures. And they approached the university about what can we do to support your students and provide some opportunities for a broad brushstroke of your student population. And so what has happened is that a course was created over 2 semesters, and the students enroll in this as a 3-credit course for each semester. The course is taught by the volunteers from Red Venture. So there's projects, there are specific technical skills, there are soft skills taught during these 2 semesters, and now they've expanded it to a paid summer internship. And with this, it is geared toward our graduating seniors, so beginning their fall and they're ending in their spring semester of their senior year. And upon successful completion of the course, meaning they have to have a passing grade, there is an opportunity for full employment for these students. So upon graduation, they transfer right into a full-time position at Red Venture. And so we're entering into our 3rd cohort of that relationship. And the other one that we forged beginning this past year, okay, sorry. off camera, mom again. So this past year, we have partnered with Project Destin, and it is a nonprofit organization that works with students to expose them to commercial real estate. And so again, for those students, I believe it was 1 semester this year, and it will probably expand as we move forward. So the students are again in a 3-credit course that was labeled as real estate. So in that case, they had a faculty member that taught some of the primary materials for that course, but then the teams from Project Destin came in with their specific commercial real estate information. And with that relationship, we've had several students that were offered positions at, again, they brought in partners, firms or organizations. And so those students had job opportunities and internship opportunities. And so we're looking to expand that model as well, so that students, not just from business, not just from STEM, but those psychology majors, those English majors, those interdisciplinary skill studies majors, have an opportunity to take part in these courses and again, have that pipeline. And so that seems to be a model of interest to a lot of the industries, at least in our area, is how can we bring in our resources? How can we help develop our potential talent pipeline with your university? So we're giving them the skills they need. And if they decide not to take the offer, that's fine. But we know that we've given them something that they can go out and be very competitive in some other industry. So yes, we do have that in place and we'll expand.
Well, thank you for that responsive answer. And it's so thorough. And I just want to be sure that I'm clear that these courses are part of the curriculum. Have they been approved by the faculty senate, or are these just temporary courses aligned with the MOU?
So for our real estate course was a new development. So we went through the entire vetting process from the department to the college, through the faculty, through the and I forget the name right now because school is out. But it went through the entire vetting process to be a course.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent response. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Sandra, for asking such a great question, and Dr. Henderson for answering that beautifully. That actually brings us to the end of our Q&A session. If there are any additional questions from anyone in the participants group, please feel free to ask in your breakout sessions or also in the chat box, and I'll get back to you directly.